The interview didn't go well. I stared at the ceiling, lying on the couch in our living room. It was already the fifth one this month. Honey, everything will work out. Kate, my wife, sat down beside me. You're an excellent specialist. I was excellent before the firm went bankrupt. Finding yourself on the street after 15 years as a financial analyst is quite a trial, especially at 40, especially when you have a mortgage and a teenage daughter. Greg, I think you need help, Kate said carefully. Professional help. A psychologist? No thanks. But Mom could... I sat up abruptly. Veronica, my mother-in-law, was a well-known psychotherapist in town. We always got along well, but discussing my problems with her? That's a bad idea. Why? She's an experienced professional, and she'd do it for free. Exactly why. She's my mother-in-law, not my therapist. But Kate insisted. Next Tuesday, I sat in Veronica's office, a small, cozy room with dimmed light and a soft couch. Relax, Greg, Veronica smiled. Here I'm not your mother-in-law. I'm a professional who wants to help. She looked different, not like she usually did at family dinners. A strict suit, hair neatly pulled back in a bun, glasses with thin frames. More formal, more attractive? I pushed that thought away. Where shall we start? I asked, settling into the chair. Tell me how you're feeling, honestly. Honestly? I smirked. Terrible. I feel like a failure. Useless. Why? Because I can't provide for my family? Because I'm sitting at home doing nothing while Kate works for both of us? Is your value determined only by work? I thought about it. Veronica watched me intently, tilting her head slightly. There was something special in her gaze. Understanding? Sympathy? Something else? You know, she said after a pause, losing a job isn't the end of the world. Sometimes it's the beginning of something new. Like what? Like a chance to understand yourself better. To find what's really important. She spoke quietly, calmly, but there was some hypnotic power in her voice. I caught myself unable to take my eyes off her lips. Let's make a deal, she suggested. 3 sessions a week. We'll see what comes of it. Okay, I agreed. Just don't tell Kate everything I tell you. Of course not. I'm a professional, remember? Everything that happens in this office stays here. Then I didn't understand how prophetic those words would become. By the 3rd week of therapy, I started noticing changes. I began sleeping better, my appetite returned, and it wasn't just because of Veronica's professionalism. Tell me about your fears, she suggested during another session. Today, she wore a silk blouse and pencil skirt. I caught myself lingering too long on her knees. I'm afraid I'll never find work, that Kate will be disappointed in me, that... What else? That I'm just getting old, becoming useless. She got up from her chair, came closer. May I... She sat next to me on the couch. She smelled of some flowers. My head felt slightly dizzy. Greg, look at me. I'm 5 years older than you. Do I seem useless? No, you're... I stumbled. You're different. Why? You're successful. Beautiful. The last word slipped out accidentally. A pause hung in the air. She was so close I could feel her body heat. Sorry, I mumbled. That's inappropriate. It's okay. She moved away slightly. Let's return to your fears. But something had changed. There was tension, electricity in the air. At the next session, she suggested a new technique. Close your eyes, she said. I'll ask questions, and you answer with the first thing that comes to mind. I obeyed. Her voice became softer, more intimate. What do you dream about? Peace. What do you want right now? Touch. Damn, that came out on its own? Silence. I opened my eyes. She was looking at me with a strange expression. Sorry, I started again. Stop apologizing. These are normal desires. Even if they're wrong? Define wrong. I couldn't. Couldn't explain that for several nights in a row I'd been waking up in a sweat, remembering her scent, her voice, the curve of her neck. Maybe we should stop, I asked. Why? You know why? No, Greg, say it. Because I'm starting to feel something inappropriate. She was silent for a long time, then quietly said, Me too. The air in the office became thick. We looked at each other, understanding we had crossed some line. It's just transference, she finally said. Common in therapy, the patient often starts developing feelings for the therapist. And the therapist for the patient? She looked away. It's called countertransference. It also happens. What should we do? Work through it professionally. But I heard uncertainty in her voice. Or maybe I just wanted to hear it. It happened during the 7th session. It was raining, and the office felt especially cozy. We were talking about my relationship with Kate. When was the last time you were intimate? Veronica asked. Physically or emotionally? Both. I thought about it. I can't remember. A month? 2? She's constantly busy at work. I'm absorbed in my problems. Do you miss intimacy? Yes. I looked at her. Do you? She tensed. Greg, we're talking about you, not me. Why? You're human too, a lonely woman. I'm your therapist. And my mother-in-law and just a woman who... Don't. She stood up, walked to the window. We can't. I stood up after her. Why? You know why. I know, but I can't stop thinking about you. She turned around. There was a struggle in her eyes. This is wrong, she whispered. I know. We stood too close. I could feel her breath on my cheek. Greg, she began, but I was already kissing her. She responded immediately, as if she had been waiting for this. Her lips were soft, demanding. Her hand slipped under my shirt. We kissed desperately, forgetting everything. Her glasses fell to the floor. I pressed her against the wall, covering her neck, collarbone with kisses. Her skin smelled of flowers and rain. The blouse flew to the floor. The couch creaked under our weight. Time stopped. Afterward, we lay in silence for a long time. Outside, the rain was still falling. What have we done? She whispered. Don't regret it. How can I not? I betrayed my daughter, violated professional ethics. What now? She sat up, started buttoning her blouse. Now we need to stop all this. Can you? She looked at me. No, and that's the worst part. That evening I came home late. Kate was already asleep. I stood in the shower for a long time, trying to wash off the scent of her mother's perfume. How was therapy? My wife asked in the morning. Fine, I lied. Veronica says there's progress. I'm so glad you two get along. If only she knew how well we got along. The next 2 weeks turned into some kind of mad performance. 3 times a week I went for therapy. Kate was happy about my progress. I really did start looking better, even began going to interviews. How do you feel today? Veronica would ask, locking the office door. Guilty, I would answer, pulling her close. We hardly talked during these meetings. Words weren't necessary, only touches, kisses, passion. Afterward, we would lie on the couch and she would cry. We must stop, she would say each time. We must, I would agree. But at the next session, everything would repeat. One day, Kate asked, why did you stop wearing the shirt I gave you? Which one? The blue one. You used to always wear it to therapy. I felt cold. That shirt remained in Veronica's office after a particularly passionate encounter. Oh, right, it's at the dry cleaners. For a month? I'll buy a new one. Veronica started making mistakes too. At a family dinner, she called me darling instead of the usual Greg. Kate raised an eyebrow in surprise, but said nothing. We need to be more careful, I said during our next meeting. We need to stop this, she replied. I can't take it anymore. Every time I see Kate... I know, me too. Then let's stop. Let's. But her hands were already unbuttoning my shirt, and my lips were exploring her neck. After another session, I forgot my phone in her office. Came back an hour later. Her secretary was sitting in the reception area. Excuse me, I know, she looked at me strangely. You forgot your phone. Dr. Veronica warned me. Something in her look bothered me, as if she knew more than she should. Thank you. I quickly grabbed the phone and left. In the evening, Veronica called. We need to talk. Her voice trembled. Jane, my secretary, she suspects something. Are you sure? Yes, she made several hints, and she's friends with Sarah from reception, who lives next door to Kate. Damn! Exactly. Greg, this is the end. We have to stop everything. Okay, I agreed. We'll talk about it at tomorrow's session? She was silent. Yes, at the last session. But we both knew it wouldn't be the last. This was supposed to be our last meeting. We agreed, just talk, dot all the I's. I found a job, I said, sitting in the chair across from her, in Seattle. What? She went pale. When are you leaving? In a month. Kate's already looking for a house there. And you're just telling me this now? How should I tell you? Dear mother-in-law, I'm leaving because I'm going crazy from our affair. She turned to the window. Her shoulders were shaking. This is right, she said quietly. It's better for everyone. Right? I stood up. You know what's right? Telling Kate the truth. About us, about everything. Are you crazy? Maybe, but I can't lie anymore. And what will you tell her? Darling, I'm sleeping with your mother. It sounded crude, vulgar, unlike the usual Veronica. No, I approached her. I'll say that I fell in love, that I didn't want to, but it happened. Don't, she stepped back. Please don't make it more complicated. Too late. Everything's already complicated. At that moment, there was a knock on the door. We froze. Veronica, Kate's voice, are you here? We stared at each other in horror. Just a moment, Veronica called out. I'm with a patient. It's okay, I'll wait, it's important. Veronica grabbed my arm and practically shoved me into the adjoining office where documents were stored. I leaned against the wall, listening as the main office door opened. Mom, we need to talk. Kate's voice sounded strange. Of course, honey, what happened? Jane called me today. My heart stopped. Jane called me today. Kate's voice trembled. She said she's worried about you, that you're seeing someone. I stopped breathing. Silence hung in the next room. What nonsense, Veronica finally replied. What made her think that? She says she saw signs and that this man is married. Kate, Mom, listen, I'm not judging. It's been 2 years since Dad's death. You have a right to a personal life. Just be careful, okay? Don't destroy someone's family. I leaned against the wall. The irony of the situation was deadly. Honey, Veronica's voice sounded strange. I need to tell you something. A phone ring interrupted her. I heard Kate answer. What? Oh, God. Yes, I'll be right there. What happened? Emily was in an accident. Nothing serious, but I need to go to the hospital. We'll talk later. Emily, our daughter. I moved toward the door, but stopped myself in time. Of course, Veronica replied. Keep me posted. The door slammed. A minute later, Veronica opened the storage room door. Go to the hospital, she said tiredly. I'll come later, separately. Veronica. Just go. At the hospital, it turned out Emily really was barely hurt, a couple of scratches and mild concussion. When Veronica arrived, Kate was surprised. Mom, why did you come? I'm the grandmother, aren't I? We avoided looking at each other. A week later, I flew to Seattle for the final interview and house hunting. Returning, I found Kate in tears. What happened? Mom, she's leaving to Europe, says she got some job offer. I froze. When? In 2 weeks, can you believe it? Won't even wait for our move. That evening, I went to Veronica's house, for the first time ever. So Europe? It's better this way. She looked exhausted. A new life for all of us. But what about us? There should never have been an us, Greg. She came closer, kissed me for the last time. You know, she said, it's funny. I've spent my whole life helping people understand their feelings, but I never managed to handle my own. We never saw each other again. Kate receives postcards from her mother from various European cities. I keep one photo, our only one together, from last Christmas, a family snapshot where we stand on opposite sides of Kate. Sometimes, on particularly difficult days, I take it out and think, what if I hadn't gone to her for therapy then? What if we had resisted temptation? What if I had really told the truth? But life doesn't deal in what-ifs. Things worked out with Kate and me. The job in Seattle turned out to be exactly what I needed. And Veronica, they say she now lives in a small town in France, opened a private practice, helps others understand themselves. I hope she helped herself too. Did you like this story? Let us know in the comments what you liked. Subscribe to our storytelling podcast. Also, don't forget to like and ring the bell so you don't miss more interesting stories. See you soon.